C1music.fm, the Familia. It is your host for the evening, Aaron Robinson. You know, we do all day, every day. And I have my panel in the building with me. What's going on, panel?
Woo! Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. So let me just run down the specs for tonight. To join the call, you can call in at 908-316-8630. If you want to join for a live on a computer, you can do meetings.dialpad.com/C1 Productions, all one word. And we are blasting off on the Spreaker Network tonight. Go to c1music.fm. I think the FM is a dash FM. But if you want to join us on there, that's cool. Tonight, our topic title is Pride's Downfall. Pride's Downfall. Before I get started tonight, I want to just get the temperature in the room. How's everybody doing today?
Great. Good.
Great.
That's good. It's been like almost 2 weeks since the last time some of y'all speak to on a regular. But for those that I haven't spoken to in like 2 weeks, welcome. It's good to be back. And again, tonight, our topic title is Pride's Downfall. Pride's Downfall. So let's do it. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so as I said, you're listening to C1music.fm, the Familia. I am your host, Aaron Robinson. Today's story revolves around the lies of Ethan Holmes. All right, today our story revolves around the life of Ethan Holmes, a successful real estate tycoon, and his ambitious wife, Elena, and their friends and family. So what we're going to do is step into Ethan and Elena Holmes' world. We start off by this. Ethan has a successful real estate business, and at the moment, his only rival in the area is Ashley, also a real estate owner who runs and owns a real estate company across town. Ethan was proud of his accomplishments, and his company just went public. Going public typically refers to when a company undertakes its initial public offering, or IPO, by selling shares of stock to the public, usually to raise additional capital. So going public is a significant step for any company, and Ethan was the first in the area for a real estate company. Recently, Ethan's company was competing with Ashley's company on a contract for the biggest building in their region. Ethan had just secured the contract that day, beating his rival Ashley in the process. He was feeling on top of the world. In his mind, his victory was a sign of his unbeatable power and influence. But as he passed Ashley in the hallway, he felt a sting of anger. Ashley didn't seem to be fazed by her loss, and instead walked past him with a proud demeanor, even though she had lost. His spirits were deflated, and he carried this anger home, letting it fester. That evening, Ethan expressed his frustration to Elena and their close circle of friends who was over for dinner. Occasionally, Elena will have close friends of the family come over so their kids can play together and so they can catch up with other couples who are around the same age as them and in similar family situations like them. So the families came over to eat dinner, and Elena, being a strategist, saw an opportunity for Ethan to one-up on Ashley. She told Ethan, "You've proven yourself today by beating Ashley. Why not further cement your position by staging a grand event at the location you won the contract with? Use this as a chance to humiliate Ashley publicly. This will surely shatter her confidence and her reputation." Their friends chimed in, supporting Elena's suggestion. Ethan was not sure, but he loved his wife and trusted her judgment. So he decided to follow her advice, announcing a grand event with Ashley as the guest of honor. However, Ashley's was no pushover. She had her sources and learned about Ethan's plot. Rather than backing down, she confronted him publicly at his event, revealing his plot and then turning the tables. She had been underhandedly been acquiring shares of his company since he went public. She was now the majority stakeholder of his company. Ashley seized control, ousting Ethan from his own company. Majority shareholder, also known as a control shareholder, is an individual corporation that owns the majority of stock of the company, which means more than 50% of the stock of a business and enjoys more voting power than any other shareholders. Majority shareholders have significant authority over how a company operates. They can make decisions regarding mergers and acquisitions, elect corporate officers, and make other important decisions, while minor shareholders, on the other hand, have relatively little power. Humiliated and powerless, this started a downhill turn of events for Ethan as felt like he lost his fortune, his reputation, and eventually he lost his life to a broken heart because of this event. So I want to open up the panel discussion and ask, why did Ethan, a successful man, allow his victory to be overshadowed by his rival's dignity?
Greed, pride. Yeah.
Greed and pride?
I would say greed and pride. Wasn't enough just to win. He had to make sure that she was humiliated. So to be bigger, he wanted her to be smaller.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would say pride also, but also jealousy too, you know?
So what was there to be jealous about? He won.
Right. But he didn't sound like he felt so great about him winning. He was worried about how, um, what, what's her name?
Ashley.
Ashley was, yeah, how Ashley, you know, it didn't bother Ashley that she didn't come in first place. She was just being herself, and that made him angry. To me, that's being jealous of her.
Okay. He had no reason to be jealous of her, but yet still he was jealous of her. Is that what y'all saying?
That's what I'm saying. Along with being, too much pride, and you know what they say about being a pride person.
Okay. What do they say about being a pride person? That's the topic of the title topic is pride's downfall. So what do they say about pride?
Well, it seemed that he had his little nose to the ceiling, and he was, okay, it says pride downfall, but he's not acting like he had a pride downfall. He's more like sticking his nose up and um, feeling proud that he won over Ashley.
Right. The downfall, I guess, comes from the simple fact that he thought he was winning, and he tried to embarrass her, and in return, he got his company taken away, and for that, he ended up losing his life.
Downfall.
Yeah. So then let's ask. Let's just say pride was part of it. What was it that, like, what do you think he was harboring? What insecurities did he have? He won. Why was he still insecure?
Uh, he just felt that winning wasn't enough for him. He needed more.
Maybe he felt threatened that she would still succeed, and he wanted to be the only one to be successful.
And that's jealousy to me. That's crazy.
Yeah. To me, if you won, though, he won. He got the building.
But he must have been insecure to still have to mess with her.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask Elder. I want to ask you this question, Elder. I'm asking Elder Martin. I want to ask you this. What role do you feel like Elena played in this? She gave him the advice. I'm sorry,
She
go
was
ahead.
the instigator. She was the instigator. She took it and pushed him on to have that event at that place where he had won the contract. And I'm trying to remember when he met her in the hallway after he had won the contract. I think he didn't like the way her attitude was too,
Right.
and I think that kind of pushed him some too. But the wife had a lot to say because she's the one who said let's take and give an event, and saying that we're gonna honor what was her name, Ashley.
Ashley, yeah, at the event.
But in the meantime, they wasn't really. They were just trying to make to pay her back. It wasn't from the heart. To me, it wasn't.
Right. I agree with that. But then, so let me ask you, Jen. So, is he at fault because he chose to listen to his wife? Should he have been the man of the house and told her, "No, I'm gonna do it this way"? Or
I mean, as a businessman and just as a man, whether it be his wife or someone else that suggested that, he should have, yeah, he should have taken all things, considered all things, and how that would have looked, regardless of who it came from, who the suggestion came from.
but he was influenced by not only his wife, who he would think that his wife has his best interests at heart. Also, the friends that were there also felt the same way, and they chimed in and said, "Yeah, they agreed that you know he should do that. He should host the event, showing his celebration, and also invite her as an honored guest. Maybe he was honoring her because they had a great battle together, and she pushed him to, she pushed him to victory. I've seen people, even like basketball games and stuff like that, like, people who overcome challenges would say, yo, bro, like, I won this one, but bro, I'll give y'all ultimate respect because y'all pushed us to the edge that we had to dig deep in ourselves to come out victorious. Is that the case for this?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
No.
Y'all don't think so?
Mm-mm.
Why not?
No, it's hateful. He's
Too
being
much.
hateful.
Too much.
I think in that with between the two sports, the teams, I think they have a rapport. Like if they passed each other in the hallway and she didn't say anything and he's upset that she didn't acknowledge him or his win, I mean, I just think just from him being upset over that, like why would you even? I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't bother if she didn't say anything to me. It wouldn't upset me. I would understand where she's coming from. Um, and I don't think I think it would. I would think that she would think that I was trying. It was a dig or trying to embarrass her to do something like that.
Maybe there was something hidden, some hidden agenda that we don't know about
Well, when
that caused.
we find out that Ashley secretly was buying all his shares. Once he went public, she said, "All right, I'm gonna take all your money. I'm gonna take control of your company."
But why? Why did I just don't understand why the two of them had had dislikes each other.
Ego.
Competition.
Whole lot of ego.
You could say ego. I would agree with that. None of y'all have never been in a situation where y'all had to like compete with somebody, and at the end, let's say somebody wanted to shake your hand, but the other person didn't want to shake your hand. They like, yo, man, I lost. I'm not trying to be friends with you. It is what it is.
It's not what the the shake is about. But if you want to be that deep, okay.
You see a lot of that in sports.
Right. Because they're competing. And in this particular situation, they were competing too. His company against her company.
Silent rivals.
It's just that he was showboating in a sense. He wanted to show off, and she secretly, she wasn't fazed by it because she was taking his company out right under his feet.
He was showboating. She had her own boat to show.
Would you say, Miss Plummer? I'm sorry.
She taught him a lesson.
Right.
Don't mess with her.
She
I mean-
said, as it turns out.
And that could have been the main reason why he, you know what I mean? Like when he went to go, you know, I guess wanted her to honor him by saying, all right, man, best man won. You won this one. She was like, yeah, all right, I'm good.
You're correct.
Yeah, I'm phased. I'm not phased.
1,000%.
Yeah. She said, your win is my win.
If you like it, I love it.
Congratulations.
To us.
Yeah, congratulations to
Keep
us.
it going. Keep up the good work.
Yep. I mean, can you imagine that? That's probably how she reacted to him.
Yeah, come and think of it.
That is so crazy. What happened to his lawyers and paying attention to who's buying the shares?
Well, sometimes
He
if
wasn't
you're
doing his due diligence.
Undercover names and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily say they're the ones buying it.
right, it could have been a shell company. It could have been many different ways.
Yeah, but I would still keep the majority of shares of my company.
Well, that's part of the problem of going public anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, but then that means you got to. The whole purpose of going public is to gain more capital.
You got 49. You have 49 shares. So
Be the majority shareholder
even if
always.
yeah.
He might have been looking at it and seeing everybody's only getting 10 here, 15 here, and he might have 30, not realizing that she's the one that's getting the 10s and the 15s.
Right.
But if like a decision is made and they come together and they have the same interest and it's against mine, it's different from mine, then if I only have 30, or excuse me, if I have 20, let's say, and they together have 30, I have 25, they have 35, then I'm out. I mean, I would still keep 51.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Always, you will always keep 51 regardless.
If I wanted to keep the company as mine, because like I said, if the people that have it have together have the majority share, they can team up and I'm out.
True that.
I wonder what the bylaws is like, because I mean, like companies go public all the time. Like you could buy shares in a whole bunch of companies. That's what the whole stock exchange and everything's all about. I was watching a guy. He was talking about becoming wealthy, and he was like, he only shops at the stores that he owns stocks in, because he says when he goes to these stores, he feel like he's paying himself.
Mm-hmm.
So if he shops at McDonald's, yeah, go to McDonald's because he owns shares in McDonald's. So he go to Walmart. And he said, I shop at Walmart because I own stock in Walmart. I feel like one of the owners. I make money off of them every time they make money. So I don't mind paying myself. That's how he looks at it. Mm-hmm. Would y'all look at it the same way?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
That sounds like an investment, okay? You're investing in yourself.
I agree. So should Ethan have placed so much trust in his wife and his friends and disregard his own instincts? Because when she told him that, he was like, yeah, nah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But
He was hesitant.
But because that was his wife, and he she's good at planning and strategy and stuff like that. All right, and maybe all his other friends was going on with his wife saying, "Yeah, you know what, you should do that." So he was just like, "All right, cool, let's do it then. I'm gonna do that."
Mm-mm. Gotta go with the gut. That was the first thing that developed when you was a baby. That's scientifically the second brain, and so this kind of proves that a little bit.
All right, anyone else?
I would say you know right from wrong. And so you knew it was wrong no matter who was telling you that. So you shouldn't have moved forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my question then is this: so why don't you think? Well, we can always have these conversations of why not, so on and so forth. But I want to ask y'all this question: do you think God was in the situation at all?
Oh, like, are you asking, do we think he prayed
Doesn't
about it?
sound like.
Because it don't sound like he went to God at all for this. Like if he did, he had the wrong
No.
attitude. Period, from the get go.
Yeah, he wasn't listening if God responded.
Because if he was listening, he wouldn't have put himself in the whole situation of going public, losing his his majority stock share. You know what I mean? All the way to this being his demise and he losing his life over the situation.
Unless he misheard him or something.
So I'm asking because he was successful. He had a, he's successful all the way up until he even won the bid, biggest bid in the region, in the building that they had. And most people, the funny thing about it, most people after I could imagine if he went on TV, they was interviewing him that day he won the bid and got the building. He goes in front of the TV. I want to thank Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, for giving me the opportunity. He blessed me with this chance to, you know.
Yup. People do that.
And the truth of the matter is, God was never in it.
Shout out to my shareholders.
Shout out to the shareholders.
Shamefully.
We are where we supposed to be.
In this together.
I mean, what y'all think about that
And he
though? Because
could
people
have
do that a
he could
lot.
have too started out. He could have started out on the right track, and sometimes success and different things go to a person's head, and they get get off track. It kind of make me think of PTO back in the day when they had success and everything was going well, and I think that they started out hearing from God and doing, on the right track. But sometimes pride can go to a person's head, and they get off track. And this guy uh, listening to his wife, and I just think that he could have just gotten off track, and he could have started out with the right mindset, the right motive, but you know, like the pride went to his head,
Hmm.
and they got off. It could. I'm saying that's another take of it. They
Hmm.
didn't necessarily have to start, you know, with the wrong motive, but they could have started out right, and then as time went by and they started being successful, then got off track, started
So
following pride instead of God.
right. So in that case, just even in Ethan's situation, he was more confident in his own worth rather than he was seeking validation and power and control. So his motives was completely wrong. Would y'all agree? His
I
motives
would
was wrong.
say yes. His motives turned wrong when he wanted to puff himself up and tear down his competition because they weren't, I guess, exalting him or acknowledging his success.
let
And
me.
it may have been, we don't know what the rapport was between the two of them over time. I mean, they could have been constantly back and forth, been doing different things to each other, like underhanded, not necessarily illegal, but underhanded things to each other. So it could have been a tit for tat for a long time, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
True. But I mean, like his decision making and listening to his wife and his friends, and the fact that he needed validation through his power and control, pretty much led to his demise. And he had a tragic ending, losing not only his company, everything he worked for, he lost his family legacy and everything.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? He had kids. If he was trying to leave stuff for his kids, he got to the point where he took his own life. His decision making caused him to lose his life.
That was really too much to the extent that they have to take your life for it. But
Hmm.
like you said, he lost everything. So some people, things like that happen, they get weak minded, and it's easier. They're thinking it's easier for them to just bow out and not have to deal with nothing else.
Yeah,
They can't take it.
it's not.
Didn't want to have to deal with the consequences.
Right.
All right, so let me ask this
Wow,
question
he
then.
lost a lot.
So let me ask this question real quick for everybody. It's a two-part question. It's open for anybody to answer it. What is the lesson that we can learn right now from Ethan and his family? What's the lesson in this little story here? What's the lesson can we get from that? Is there a lesson?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, talk to me. What y'all
Don't,
think? What's the point of this?
don't forget who your source is. Like when you're just starting out, you're praying to God, you're asking God, you're listening to Him, and then as you go along, you're starting to get bolder, and you're starting to neglect your spiritual side, and you're letting outside influences direct you in the way to go.
Okay. What if you're? Let's look at Ethan from a standpoint. Let's say Ethan was never a Christian and he never knew God, and so we're. Let's say all of us here are individuals that's from the outside looking in, and we look at Ethan and we say, "Man, he lost everything." What's the lesson can we learn from him on that point?
Cross your T's and dot your I's.
I mean, I don't think he really lost everything. He didn't lose everything. He still had shares. Maybe not the majority, but he still had shares, right?
She brought
Let's
up.
humble that
Good,
bro.
she brought up a good bit of shares. I don't know. He lost control of his company.
I mean, he lost control of his company, but he still had shares, and his company was on the up and up. Like, look for the good. I mean,
Hmm.
he should have.
That's a,
He was more focused on the fact that he lost his company, and he lost his company and the majority of shares, but he still had shares, whether they be 20%, whatever. And his company was doing good, apparently. I mean, it was doing
But
good.
it
So
affect,
actually,
but
huh?
it
he
affected his pride, though.
not only did it
Right. I'm
affect his
saying if he
pride, he
would have
doesn't
put
have
it
Who
control of
in,
his company
knows
no
what's
more.
if he would have
important?
humbled himself, I would have said, "This is my opportunity to retire. Go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead, keep up. You go ahead, and I'm gonna take my shares and just you let it grow." I mean, I'm saying you can look at it different ways. He looked at it as a big loss. He could have taken it
But his
as
wealth, his worth, his self worth was wrapped up in that. So without
right.
that, he was nothing,
That's why I say he
and
should
he
have
didn't
been
he didn't
humble.
have
That's
God. So he didn't have God, or if even if he did, his worth was more in that than in God.
the fact.
Mm, that's true. I agree with that. I want to ask, because little do y'all know, this actual story was inspired by First Lady.
Yeah.
I knew she was going to say, how? Well, I want to ask y'all a question. And I know a few people are on the phone that can answer this question as well. I want to ask everybody a question. What Bible story does this sound like?
I was trying to think of one. Mm.
Um,
A little,
it
a little
sounds
bit with.
like Esther.
Go ahead.
That's not Esther, the man,
Esther and Haman.
Hammond.
Haman.
Excuse me. Yes, it is exactly
Mhm.
the story.
We know that because First Lady taught us that stuff.
Well, I know that because I heard, obviously when she was teaching or going over
Oh,
this in
you
your
was all
woman's,
in the background.
I'll be in the background hearing Carletta on the phone. And so one day she was, obviously I know the story of Esther and I read it all the time, but I was listening to them. I was sitting at the computer and I was listening to y'all go over this particular part of the story and the points that y'all bringing out. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put that in the archive.
Mm-mm.
So, with that being said, I want to examine this particular story for the people that don't know this story or for everybody and see the comparison. So, if everybody can, let's turn to Esther. We're going to start off at Esther chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 9 through 14. And then I have some questions, and then we're going to move on to Esther chapter 6, and I have some questions in Esther chapter 7. And hopefully we get through all of this. I wanted to not spend a lot of time on that particular conversation, the
Esther
story.
5, what verse?
But we're going to start off with Esther chapter 5,
1?
verse 9. We're going to start at verse 9.
Oh, verse 9. Okay.
My story with Ethan starts with verse 9.
Your family not doing right. I can't do nothing with you.
That's what God told Haman.
Oh,
Sister Jones, you good?
I'm sorry. I was on hold on. My system.
Oh man.
put the phone on me.
Yeah. Esther chapter 5, though. We have Esther chapter 5, verse 9 through 14. I am reading
Yeah, I
from
have it.
the NCV version. So if everybody is there, how they say in church, let me hear amen.
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 All right, here we go. Esther chapter 5, verse 9 to 14. Haman's plan against Mordecai, verse 9. He left the king's palace that day happy and content. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate and saw that Mordecai did not stand up or tremble with fear before him, Haman became very angry with Mordecai. But he controlled his anger and went home. Then Haman called together his friends and his wife Zeresh. He told them how wealthy he was and how many sons he had. He also told them all the ways the king had honored him and how the king had placed him higher than his important men and his royal officers. Verse 12, he also said, I am the only person Queen Esther invited to come with the king to the banquet she gave. And tomorrow, also the queen has asked me to be her guest with the king. But all this does not really make me happy when I see that Jew, Mordecai, sitting at the king's gate. Verse 14, then Haman's wife, Zeresh, and all his friends said, have 75-foot platform built, and in the morning ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on it. Then go to the banquet with the king and be happy. Haman liked this suggestion, so he ordered the platform to be built. My first question I want to ask, what underlying insecurities in Haman are revealed when he allows Mordecai's refusal to bow before him to overshadow his recent promotion and honor from King Xerxes? Y'all can take your mics off of mute. Are you there?
Yes. What was the say the question again?
So, what underlying insecurities in Haman are revealed when he allows Mordecai's refusal to bow before him to overshadow his recent promotion and honor from King Xerxes. We going once,
Mordecai.
going twice.
Mordecai's self worth was wrapped up in his position. He wanted to be, I guess, number one next to the king, and he wanted everyone to bow before him and to give him honor. And Mordecai was his enemy. In his mind, Mordecai was his enemy. So um, he felt as though I have all these accolades from the king, and you're beneath me, so you should honor me. And he wouldn't do it. But Haman didn't know the whole story, though.
Right. All right. I want to ask this question. Just open to anybody. Zeresh, Haman's wife, and his friend suggested the building of gallows for Mordecai. So my question is, what does this advice say about their values in their relationship with Haman? Could they have advised him differently? What does it say about them? And the same thing with the situation with his wife with Ethan. There's very similar. There's a lot of similarities in this story, parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So again, what does this say about them as well and their values?
That they don't have values. They don't. They don't have values, and that they're encouraging Haman to do what's wrong. So you know they don't have any values themselves, and they're making him. They're giving him the impression that he is the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're encouraging his ego because he's excited that he's being honored. You know, as the, he came home bragging. Yo, the king. I mean, all his top guys were there. He chose me. I mean, I'm the only one that got invited to the party tomorrow as the honored guest. Only me. But I seen that dude Mordecai man out there, man. He was, oh man, he so disrespectful. And that first reaction is, get him killed. Let's kill him.
So he was full of pride.
That is correct.
Full of pride, yeah, because he didn't. With he's figuring like with all of that I have, and that I'm promoted next in line, and how dare you not bow down?
And they fed his ego. His friends and his wife fed that ego.
Yeah, they fed it. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna go to chapter 6. Let's go to chapter. I'm sorry, Carm, you was gonna say something?
I was just saying they're the hype man. They're stroking his ego. That's what he needed. That's what he wanted. And that's what they were doing.
Okay. Again, I want y'all to see the parallels between the two stories and see it all makes sense. All right, here we go. Esther chapter 6. It says, the same night the king could not sleep, so he gave an order for daily court record to be brought in and read to him. It was found recorded that Mordecai had warned the king about Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, and had planned to kill the king. The king asked, what honor and reward have been given to Mordecai for this? The king's personal servants answered, nothing has been done for Mordecai. The king said, who is in the courtyard? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace. He had come to ask the king about hanging Mordecai on the platform he had just prepared. Verse 5, it says, the king's personal servants said, Haman is standing in the courtyard. The king said, bring him in. So Haman came in, and the king asked him, what should be done for a man whom the king wants to very much honor? And Haman thought to himself, whom would the king want to honor more than me? So he answered the king, "This is what you could do for the man you want very much to honor. Have the servants bring a royal robe that the king himself has worn, and also bring a horse with a royal crown on his head, and a horse that the king himself has ridden. Let the robe and the horse be given to the one of the king's most important men. Let the servants put the robe on the man the king wants to honor, and let him lead him on the horse through the city streets. As they are leading him, let them announce, 'This is what is done for the man the king wants to honor.'" Verse 10, the king commanded Haman, "Go quickly, take the robe and the horse, just as you have said, and do all of this for my man Mordecai, the Jew who sits at the king's gate. Do not leave out anything you have suggested." So Haman took the robe and the horse, and he put the robe on Mordecai. Then he led him on a horseback through the city streets, announcing before Mordecai, "This is what is done for the man whom the king wants to honor." Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman hurried with his head covered because he was embarrassed and ashamed. He told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had happened to him. Haman's wife and the man who gave him the advice said, "You are starting to lose power to Mordecai. Since he is a Jew, you cannot win against him. You will surely be ruined." While they were still taking the eunuchs came to Haman's house and made him hurry to the banquet Esther had prepared. My question here is, what is the significance of Haman entering the king's presence just as the king is considering how to honor Mordecai? How does this instance of bad timing contribute to the dramatic irony in this story? Talk to me, y'all. Can you imagine? You,
At the time, Haman was thinking of himself
right,
and how great he is, and how what and he coming in at that time, and figuring that he had to be talking about the king
him.
had to be talking about him. So rather than any who else could he be talking about? I'm the greatest. You know, next. Next in power and all that kind of stuff. So who else could he be talking about? So yeah.
Oh man, can y'all imagine if y'all was Haman's wife and he came home with his head down and tell y'all this story?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And then she turned on him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you losing your swag, bro.
Just turned on him like you came in, like you never should have done that.
And she told him to do it.
Yeah, she was the main spearhead of that. She told him to do it. Oh man,
Mm-mm-mm.
what you think about that, Jen?
But
Is she still on? Jen still on? She muted? Go ahead, First Lady. What you was about to say?
no, I was gonna say, but even for Mordecai, or people in his situation, to understand the fact too that this whole thing is goes way back. The reason why, like, where did the hatred come from? The reason why, it goes all the way back to Saul, and when God told Saul to kill, all of Haman's ancestors, and he spared, he didn't kill, he spared one, and that's how that whole thing, that hatred between them and the Jews, came all the way down, but was rooted all the way back then from Saul not obeying God, and that's how this whole mess got started. And so sometimes deep seated hatred, goes a long time, and but with Haman just obeying God and doing what God told him to do, he still came out victorious. Where it looked like he wasn't going to, but he's just stayed with God, trust God, and obeyed God.
Right.
in the end, he was victorious
Okay, so we're looking at the two
because
characters.
it went to a part where he thought he thought he was gonna die, and all his people.
Right. So if we compare this story to the other story, it sounds like
Yeah.
Ashley is actually Mordecai,
Mm.
right? In the modern day version of this story, Ashley is playing Mordecai. We can say, well, we started off saying maybe she had ill intent by buying the shares, but he actually created the opportunity for her to even buy the shares. And she was in a financial position to buy the shares. That's not a bad investment on her part.
Mm-mm.
And she still got her own company.
Yeah, but I'm sure he didn't know she was gonna buy.
True.
He got,
No,
he
he
But
got.
if you think about it from Haman's
like
perspective,
Haman didn't know
he didn't know, yeah.
Mordecai was gonna be the one to be the one
That's
that the king
yeah.
was gonna.
Right. So Haman was like, oh, he about to, oh, yo, he going to show me off, yo. Like, put me on a horse, walk me through the streets, let everybody chant. This is how the king represents when he want to honor one of his guys. You know what I mean? Like he came up with a whole parade, and then he had. Can you imagine? He had to be the one to hold the horse, walking him on the donkey,
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Have mercy.
I'm doing that.
shouting them words. This is how the king honors. Oh man, bro.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you thought it was gonna be you.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Just another
And
as it
everybody's
turns
gonna be
out.
talking about it.
right. And then so it's a good thing his wife and them because what if his wife would have been out there in the parade watching this? I would be mad. I would be so mad at her, man. Like, yo, this is all your fault, man. You and them bums who was at my house. Go home.
But you got a mind of your own.
Yeah, true, true, true. You set his own
You
self
know
up.
what though? This story too, like the story that you told us, it reminded me a little bit too. I was gonna say, remind me a little bit of because we just did Eve. It reminded me of how Adam though kind of reversed, but Adam listened to Eve, and because of that, everything has changed. Even that affects us to this day,
Right.
But by Adam listening with where he disobeyed God by listening to Eve, and Eve listened to the serpent. But somebody listening to somebody else that's giving them bad advice.
Yeah.
Boy, give women a bad reputation.
I want to finish this up so we can get through Esther chapter 7. I'm going to read the last verses on this. Actually, we're going to read 1 through, I think it's 1 through 10. Here we go. I'm sorry. Yeah, Esther chapter 7, 1 through 10. And it says here, so the king and Haman went in to eat with Queen Esther. Remember now, he got called. He rushed. He was home disappointed, and the people came and the eunuchs came and got him. So now he got to rush over to go to the party that the queen invited him to. I would have said I was sick. I can't go. But I mean, you just you just played me out, fam. It's like you just had me walking the guy. But in any case, so the king and Haman went to eat with Queen Esther. As they were drinking wine on the second day, the king asked Esther again, "What are you asking for? I will give it to you. What is it you want? I will give you as much as half of my kingdom." The queen Esther answered, "My king, if you are pleased with me, and if pleases you, let me live. This is what I ask. And let my people live too. This is what I want. My people and I have been sold to be destroyed, to be killed and completely wiped out. And if we had been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because that would have not been enough of a problem to bother the king." Then King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is he? Who has done such a thing?" Verse 6, Esther said, "Our enemy and foe is the wicked Haman." Then Haman was filled with terror before the king and queen. The king was very angry, so he got up, left his wine, and went out in the palace garden, but Haman stayed inside to beg Queen Esther to save his life. He could see that the king had already decided to kill him. When they returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, he saw Haman falling on the couch where Esther was lying. Then the king said, "Will he even attack the queen while I'm in the house?" As soon as the king said that, the servants came in and covered Haman's face. Harbona, one of the eunuchs there serving the king, said, "Look, a 75-foot platform stands near Haman's house. This is the one Haman had prepared for Mordecai, who gave him the warning that saved the king." The king said, "Hang Haman on it." So they hanged Haman on the platform he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king was not so angry anymore. Yo, the eunuch, Harbona, yo, he sold my man out too. They're looking at him like, "Why you snitching, bro?" Man was snitching.
Have you told me him?
Why art thou?
Yeah, why are you snitching? All right, so we see here, as y'all know, the end of the story. Um, he didn't even know that Esther was part of the, related to Mordecai and even part of the. He was all messed up all the way around, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I want to ask this question, y'all. All right, because the highlight part of this to me is not even him dying. All right, because to me, when I think about this story and I read it, and I'm like, oh man, and I was trying to interject this into the story that I made up, but I was like, yeah, it's no, I would give everything away if I told this part of the story. But like, yo, can you imagine? You came in, you rushed over here. You didn't even want to be there because you already pissed that the king played you out. Then his wife come out her mouth and says this, and the king is so mad that he bounces like, yo, he leave the room like and you like, oh man, like I know it's over. And now you pleading to the queen like, yo, what you doing? Like, fam, like, can you say like, yo, you know how this gonna go? This, I'm down bad, as Madison would say. I'm down bad. Like, yo, can you know what I mean? And the king, after he already pissed and he walked back into the room and he see you over there begging, and it's like, yo, hold up. That's not what you think. It's not what you think. Like, you already done for now. Like, it's over. And then the guys come grab you, and the dude who came and got you and brought you there, the guy who came and said, yo, the king is waiting for you at the palace with the queen. The dude that came and got you, snitch on you and like, yo, matter of fact, yo, King, I seen the thing that he got built for Mordecai, man. Like, you should, you know what I mean? Like, it's right in front of his house. It's right there. Like, yo, King, like, oh, word? Yeah, take him there, hang him. That travel back from the palace to his house.
Definition of down bad.
How that conversation went to Carbona. You think he even was talking to him? Like, bro, like I'd have been heated. Or I wouldn't have been in that situation. Let me say that. But I know he was. Yo, my family gonna see me hanging, like my kids, like that had to. I'm like, yo, I hope this was like let's take the long way. Let's take like, let's go the long way.
Not it could have been me.
And you got this thing over my bag, over my head. You got a bag over my head too. Like,
Disrespectful.
so disrespectful, man. I mean, what y'all think? What y'all think? Like, what did anything of that stand out to y'all? Because that's when I immediately read that. I'm like, oh man, like I couldn't imagine being in that situation, yo.
I couldn't imagine. I haven't read this version, but that's horrible.
Say that again, Carm. I didn't hear you.
I was just saying I haven't read this Bible version of it, so I didn't know that a bag was placed over his head. That had to been, like you said, a very long way home. But it's time to think about all the people you've done wrong because you had to have done this guy wrong for him to just volunteer this information.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just a reminder. No matter how you get, be nice to everybody because you don't know somebody who may be under you in position. They may have the opportunity one day to help you or hurt you.
Or even if he didn't do him wrong, he's the guy probably saw his actions and how he acts towards other people, and
Right.
just seen and knew his personality and how he was, and so he just put it out there. Hey, he got this here. He built this thing. Like he probably knew he built it for Mordecai. Mordecai wasn't not Mordecai. Yeah, but
Yeah, you right.
Haman wasn't being secretive. About what he was doing, and everybody knew, and even had other people mad at Mordecai because he didn't bow down and whatnot. So he had other people like, man, why don't you just do it? Yeah, the guy could have heard all of that and knew how Haman was.
Yo, so I want to
So
ask you. I want to ask everybody. I want to ask everybody on the phone, the ladies on the phone, if Haman was your husband and now he's hanging in front of your house. I don't recall. I gotta in my head. I feel like the family was wiped out, but I'm not 100% sure. But would y'all be afraid for y'all lives at that point in time? If y'all was living in these days and times, like even for your kids and everything, like would y'all move? Like, what would be the next move? You see your husband. You already say, yo, you losing your power, bro. And then all of a sudden, he coming back to be hung on top of something that you told him to build.
well,
I
to
would
tell
pray
you,
because sometimes they kill off the whole family when the leader does wrong.
That's what I'm saying. So would you hang like right when you see them doing that? Would you be like, we out, grab the kids and we going?
Yeah, let's go somewhere.
Yeah.
but if
Down
y'all
out of
remember,
there.
his sons didn't. They stayed, and their plan was still to kill all the Jews. And remember, his son, uh, all women, like you said, Eve and his wife, this guy's wife, Haman's wife, gave women a bad name, but Esther was smart and listened to God, and she was the one who said, "Give me the second day," and had his sons killed. If y'all remember the story, she had Haman's sons were killed the second day.
So his
She had
wife then.
second day.
So
They
what's
didn't want
Mordecai's wife? I mean, not Mordecai.
Huh?
Haman's wife.
Haman's wife. That
She should have grabbed the kids and bounced, man.
Yeah, but well, the sons wanted to avenge. Even though their dad was. Some people get so wrapped up in, even though they know something is wrong, they get so wrapped up in it that they stick with the wrong person anyway.
Yeah.
Meaning that some people are so committed to a person that
mm,
even though they're wrong, they stay wrong with them.
you see that in politics all the time.
Yep.
Yes, you do.
Mm. Even just in life, you see it. You know
Right.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, but they were
That's
wrong,
the
and so
good
they
friend.
stayed wrong with them. And so yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
plenty of people are willing to go down with the ship.
right.
And
Yeah.
so there's some, but his sons, his 10 sons, I believe it was 10 sons. But they when Esther asked for that second day, asked the king to give me a second day, and that was she wanted to have his sons killed,
She
and
was the real
to make
strategist.
sure that she wiped out, make sure that all of them were wiped out, all of Haman's, his sons, his family.
Now, if she wouldn't, if Mordecai wouldn't have did what he did, waiting to talk to her, somewhat put the bug in her ear,
Hmm.
and she had to like she came up, she masterminded this plan. When it's all said and done, she Michael Jordan this one, man. She
Hmm.
the hero in this situation. She came up with a master plan. I would be scared of her after that, man. Like, yo, you real, yo.
Dangerous.
Yo, you the real MVP in this one, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you set it up to you knew what to say. Second day. Nah, give me second day. Not first day, second day. And you you got the whole family wiped out. Like, yo, you, after that, yeah. The king brutal, but
Well, one thing
she real.
in your story, you said the guy, I forgot his name, was that
Ethan.
he wasn't saved or anything. But in Esther's case, the thing that she said was what made her, wise and whatnot. She told all the Jews to, hey, let's fast and pray.
Yeah, she
Right.
They want, let's hear from God.
Well,
And
Ethan
that's what
should,
that guy in
that's,
the story
yeah,
didn't
he
do.
didn't do that at all. That's what he should have did.
No.
And matter of fact, in all these situations, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He would, if he would have did that, because part of the problem, he was blinded by his ego that he couldn't see the big picture.
Exactly.
So he couldn't see he couldn't see that, yo, maybe, you got holes, like you went public, you got holes in your story. You're not solid, bro. You lost everything now. You should have had a plan in place to make sure you the majority shareholder, period.
Yeah.
But instead, you so caught up in just trying to be the man, you didn't think this thing through.
You know what, too, Aaron? What I was thinking about when we were talking about the story and keeping the 51% shares, because even if can you imagine building a company up with and you got certain standards and certain beliefs, and then you do sell off your shares, whereas people have more than you. You can have companies that are promoting things or backing things like Target. Like right now, I wouldn't want to be a part of if they're the things that they're standing for, promoting, pushing. If that was my company, and I done gave my blood, sweat, and tears to build that company up, and then I sell off all the shares and have everybody else owning more than me, and then they're pushing their different agendas that totally are against my faith or my beliefs or my standards. Man, that would hurt.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, even though you sold your shares, you still the person that got to execute the plans that the shareholders are coming up to. You kind of like work for them. You the CEO of the company now.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, because I couldn't promote this stuff. Couldn't promote the stuff that they're standing for in my company.
In your company that you got to hire your employees and tell them to sit down and tell
Lord
them
have
this is
mercy.
what this is what they got to do now. Because the shareholders are the ones that call the shots. Because you gave up majority share.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
I agree with Jen. You need to keep 51%.
I wouldn't. I would keep more than 51%. I wouldn't. Yo,
Well,
this
I'm
only
just
this
saying,
section of the share
Oh yeah, base.
at
That's
least
everything.
be a majority owner.
always,
Right.
always.
Mm.
All right. With that being said, man, like our pastor always say, that. First off, what y'all thought about this episode?
This was a good one.
Good story.
All right, good, good. Like I said, from overhearing First Lady speaking passionately about this story, I saved it for my notes and I said, all right. All right, Chat GPT.
Oh, goodness.
Here's what I want. Esther chapter 9, 6, and 7. No, Esther chapter 5, 9 to 14, and then chapter 6, chapter 7. Read all of that and write me a story. And it came up with that. So I said, all right, cool. I had some other stuff to add to it, but we're already past our hour. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm glad y'all was able to enjoy this one. As our pastor always say at our church, be safe, be blessed, be well. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for tuning in, and thank y'all for joining the conversation tonight. Be blessed.
All righty then. Good night.
You
Be
too. God
blessed.
bless.
Good night. Good night.